Adane Major General Melraj Mehta ji, we welcome you on board Confederation of Empowerment Initiatives. We're honored to have you on our masterclass today. And we would now request you to please conduct your session on leadership and crisis management in our fourth masterclass today. I'm sure this will be an enlightening session for all of our CEI empowerment warriors, students of various universities across India as well as internationally, plus senior CEI leaders from India as well as internationally who've joined us from all across the globe. So without further ado, Om Namah Shivaya, I would now hand over to you. And I would request you to please take your session and guide us further in today's masterclass. Om Namah Shivaya, over to you.
Shraddha, thank you very much. Namaskar and good evening to everybody. I hope you can hear me.
Ji, yes, you're audible. Om Namah Shivaya.
Ji. So, first of all, I am very thankful to Larry Bhaiji for giving me this opportunity to come onto this platform and address all of you. This is something which is unique, and I am privileged to be speaking to you on my little experience, and I hope it will be useful to the youngsters who are launching into the life. And the life experiences are worth sharing, and if they are not shared, they are useless. So I am very happy that I have been given an opportunity to share my life experiences. So first of all, I don't have a PowerPoint presentation, so I will be talking to you generally off the cuff, and I have jotted down certain points for which I will be referring to my notes. So first of all, we must understand what is leadership. Leadership is making some people do willingly what you want them to do. See, you have a team, you have an organization, and there are certain goals of the organization, and you have the responsibility to have those goals achieved, the direction in which the organization wants everybody to go, and you have many hundreds, maybe 20, 30, 100,000 people under you. See, it is very easy to work with a computer. It is very easy to work with machines because they can be controlled. And it is very easy to even work with the animals because the animals can be trained and forced, and they, we generally tend to be very harsh with the animals, like, horses, riding, polo players and all those things. But yet still they are having their own, peculiar mind, and they, the mind works, and they have to be brought in some kind of a training. But it is very, very difficult to work with human beings because every human has his or her emotions, social background, their egos, their fears, their other notions, and their other emotions which come in the way of getting the job done. So it is an art as well as a science. So this is a very beautiful thing which we experience day in and day out in the army. And it is such an enlightening thing, and it is such a beautiful, empowering feeling that yes, you can get a body of men to do something which you want them to do, and they believe that they want to do it, or they also want to do it. So this is leadership. A leader is in such a position who can motivate, who can empower, who can get the thing done from his subordinates. Now there are one or two other concepts. One is a concept of a commander. Now a commander is somebody who owes his power or authority from the chair or a position that he has acquired. Every commander may not be a good leader. So that is something like an official position which gives you that kind of a authority or certain charter, because based on a rule book, and then the people are forced to obey or follow you because they are having allegiance to that chair or that authority or that position or that appointment. Then there is a person or an appointment which is generally called as a manager. So manager is somebody who's managing, coordinating the bigger vision which has been given to him, the orders that have been given to him. So he comes down in the lower order. But then we are now talking about leadership, so I will restrict myself to that. Now the point is, leader has the force of character, charisma, and he has a vision. That vision is very, very important, because only then he can guide the organization where it is supposed to be going. He can plan, he can work out what is required to be done, how it is required to be done, what are the steps which will be required to be gone through before you are able to achieve what is supposed to be achieved. So he has a onerous responsibility. The responsibility is great on his shoulders, because everything that is supposed to be achieved by the organization, the successes, the failures, they are on his shoulders. So now, how does he do it? How do you get a body of people to do what you want them to do? There are incentives, the people are working for pay, there are certain other privileges, there are the basic roti kapda makan and all those things, kind of a thing, for which people are working. But then they may be working very, very disinterestingly. So when you have to put fire into them, so that is how the leadership comes in. And how do you get the respect of your subordinates? How do you get that untiring willingness of the people? Now the best examples are in army, when people can die for you. People are willing to lay down their life. So that is again, some people, like there was some politician who was saying in Bihar ke फौज में तो लोग मरने के लिए ही जाते हैं. So that is not the case. There are bigger things in life. People will not go back. People will attack. People will launch themselves on Kargil hills, which were bloody barren. There was no cover. People were dying, but then they are still attacking. Why do they do it? So there are many things of an organization, the spirit, and basically the leadership. In army, there is a advantage of having a regimental spirit. Regimental spirit mane, you are in a group of people, you are in a regiment, you are in a unit where you stay for a long time, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, not 30 but 20, up to 20 years, and you are attached with that ethos, you are attached with that kind of a color, you have that kind of a flag, the notions, the ceremonies and all those things. So they bind you towards that organization. So that is something apart from the other things. But then the जो जज्बा है, वो जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का जज्बा है, वो अगर हम पैदा कर सकते हैं, तो उससे फिर हमारे को आगे से काम करना आसान हो जाता है. So now leadership is something which can be learned also. Everybody can improve. Like I have come from a village in my life. I was from a rural background, a middle class Orthodox family, and I was able to learn by two methods. One was method of reading. I used to read a lot, voracious reader of everything, literature, this thing, philosophy, religious books and whatnot and whatnot. And the second thing was observing people. If you observe people, that what are they doing, if they're doing something good, then you feel, yes, this is something good, so I should follow it. But then you also see certain examples where you feel bad or the others are feeling bad based on certain actions. So then you realize that, yes, this is not good, so I should not do it. So this is how you evolve yourself. And another thing is that leadership, it has to be from within. They say motivation has to be from within. If you are an artificial kind of a person who reads a book, notes down certain points, 1 2 3 4 5 6, that these are the issues that I should be tackling with, this is how I should be behaving as a leader, and then if you are not genuine from within, that falsehood will show, and then you will lose all your control, you will lose all your efficiency, you will lose face, and then nobody will respect you. So there are various other personal issues also. Like the first issue is that as a leader, you should have knowledge. your subordinates will only listen to you. They only will follow unquestionably whatever you say, provided they have their trust in your knowledge that yes, this man is my leader, he knows more than me, or he is adequately aware of how the job is to be done, and if I follow his orders, there is no problem, the thing will be done. So this is one. The second is stamina. As a leader, you should have a physical fitness. You should have the force of personality to be able to influence the people positively. You have to be physically fit. You have to properly dress up. You have to communicate properly. You have to have that kind of a force of personality that yes, this man means business. He is effective. He knows his beans and he means business. If you are able to do that, then half the job is done, because the aura of the leader around you, because you are having a knowledge, you are having a good personality. You don't have to be handsome. You don't have to be tall and dark and handsome. You have to be physically fit. You have to be mentally alert. You have to communicate clearly. When you write something down, there should be no ambiguity. When you talk to somebody, you have to have that kind of an authority where he understands very clearly what is being said, what is being demanded out of him. Similarly, there is something known as empathy. Now, this is very important for a leader, because as I was telling you in the introduction, that human beings are very, very difficult to understand, control, because they are not machines. So they have their emotions, they have their, biases, they have their, egos, they get hurt, they get afraid, they get worried, they have pressures from the family, there are, financial pressures, mother-in-law pressure, father-in-law pressure, and that kind of a thing, rents and EMIs, and, there are so many bloody issues which a man can be affected with, unfortunately. But then as a leader, if you are able to understand that thing, you can put yourself into his shoes, and then you will be able to get the best out of it. And then there is a thing about perception. One thing is that, in the organization, when you are a leader, there will be many people who will be wanting to curry favor with you. There will be a lot of people who will come and gossip in your ears. There are people who will, talk, bitch behind the back of the other colleagues. And that kind of a thing spoils the atmosphere. And when you also have to be careful that you do not do any loose talk, because the loose talk, whatever you do, somehow or the other, maybe within a day, 2 days, a week, 2 months, 6 months, 1 year, whatever ill you talk about somebody reaches him or her in due course of time. It is how the society works, how the human beings work. So be careful what you talk to others about somebody else behind their back when they are not in the position. So similarly, you have to be careful. You have to understand the people. And then, there is a thing about team building. Now, when I was a junior officer working myself up, and then when I became a commanding officer and became a brigade commander, and when I became a GOC, so I never changed my team on the whims and fancies. I worked with whichever team was given to me, other than maybe one case when an officer I got posted out because he was quite unpopular, and we were going into the field, and I was suspecting that there may be some disgruntled person may even shoot him. So other than that, I worked with the team which was given. So you have to build your team. You have to understand their shortcomings. You have to understand their strengths, and you have to see which person is dedicatedly given a particular task. Like, I'll tell you an example. I had, when I took over, there was a computer operator. He was a senior Havaldar, and he was a computer operator. And he was being kept just for the computers because he was very good and people were depending on him, and he was indispensable in the computers. Nobody else was. He had no future other than just being a computer operator. So when I saw him, I found him to be very intelligent. I found him to be very सुलझा हुआ दिमाग का आदमी. And I told him, okay, you come out of this, you start pre-course training for one army course. And I was able to send him to that course. I sent him to one pre-course, thereafter some coaching, thereafter he went to that course. He topped that course. It was a weapon course. So if a computer operator can top a weapon course, now this is something which, he was being misused, or I can say not adequately, appropriately used. And when I left the battalion, thereafter, I came to know he did one more course. Then he did another course. And all the courses, he was getting the best gradings. He became a JCO. He became an honorary captain. And his son is presently an army officer. Now, suppose I had not taken him out of that computer room, he would have been just a Havaldar, maybe become a Naib Subdar, gone home, picked up a job maybe with some, bank or somebody, and he would have been finished. But when his horizons opened up, then he was able to even, see beyond that computer screen. Then he became, an instructor outside. He took his family out of the village, and his children education started, and all those things happened. So you have to empower your juniors, empower your subordinates, and see that they are being put to optimum use. There will be people who will be very happy, taking a cushy job and not exerting. There will be some people who will be having a lot of extra, responsibilities, because a person who does good, we tend to load him up with, more and more and more and more of the workload, and ultimately that big man becomes inefficient. So this is something which one has to be careful about. You have to make sure that your juniors are used properly. And again, as a leader, if you have a lot of people, please make sure that you are just. Do not have any blue-eyed boys, and because it will firstly be, you will be misled by these coterie. You will have a coterie around you which will mislead you. They will shelter you from the reality on the ground. They will not let the uncomfortable thing comes to you, which you will be blind to, and it will lead to disgruntlement in the other people. The rest of the people will be feeling bad about it. Look at this, he is the bloody chap or a person who gets all the good things. He gets all cushy postings. He gets all the raises, increments, and whatever. So you have to be just. You have to be absolutely true to yourself. Now I'll give you an example. There is some. You must have heard of it, most of you. Sorry, there is a concept called Joe Harry window. So when you are true to yourself, जैसे वो संस्कृत में बोलते हैं ना, कर्मणा ना क्या बोलते हैं उसको, जो आप सोचते हो वही आप बोलते हो, और जो बोलते हो वही आप करते हो. So I'm missing out that exact thing. But then if you are true to yourself, you are honest, you are open, you don't have anything wrong to be hidden, and you are not doing anything which is, unlawful or dishonest, then there is no doubt that people will believe you, they will go for you, they will die for you, and they will be able to work whatever you want out of them. So there is a concept called Joe Harry window. See, Joe Harry window is a concept in which it is said that we have our personality, but our actual personality is not visible to the outside world, that is to our colleagues and to the people whom we are work with. So there are things which we hide from them, so this is one thing which is hidden from them. And then there are certain things which we don't even know. So there are certain things which are hidden from us also. So this is how your personality remains stunted or reduced, not fully visible. So if we know what is wrong about us, then we can widen this window. And if we do not have anything to be hidden, and if we open up and we become very clear, so this part which we are hiding deliberately, that also becomes less. So then we have more of the personality is transparently visible to outside. That has a very direct effect on your subordinates' reaction to your orders. If they believe you that this man, yes, he is honest, he means what he says, and he will execute what is required to be done, they will do it. But if they don't trust you, they say कि ये सट्टे मारता है, or he may not be meaning what he says, and he's not serious, he's not putting his money where his mouth is, the response will not be genuine. So this is something which we must all think about it. Sometimes, um, we lose our shirt at something. We feel bad about certain things. We get hurt by certain things. So we have some kinks in our own personality also. Every one of us has it. No one is perfect, but it is good to self-analyze, try to see what hurts you, what angers you, what makes you go slow, what makes you procrastinate, what blurs your thinking, what clears your thinking. So there are many things which you can improve in yourself if you and then for that you may also, like, I always prefer a feedback. I prefer a feedback. In fact, I am sure Shraddha will give me a feedback after this thing also as to what was good and what was bad. So what is good, you reinforce it. What is bad, you can improve on it. Like certain people, like yesterday, in fact, it happened with me. I was supposed to be a con call with somebody, and that con call, I did not see the link and the message. So they went ahead and did the con call video conference without me. So when I called up that person, I said, then the person called up, sir, you are not there. We did this call. Now you are calling me up. You could have called me at that time when you found that the video conference is on and I have not joined. So if that time you had called me, I would have joined immediately. So I raised my voice. I, was slightly annoyed, and, I wanted to have my doubts cleared one-to-one with that professional. So this person who was coordinating, he felt bad. And thereafter, it was, that she was really hurt. And then I had to say sorry, that I generally talk loud and I'm always, sometime I'm get agitated and all those things, but I get calmed down back to normal. But then now I know that after having left the army 3 years back, I still have that kadak kind of a behavior of an army officer, which in the corporate world will have to be mellowed down. I cannot be that kind of a, ordering people around and expecting 100% drill square kind of an obedience. This is a different setup, people, and then they have to get used to me. I'm just there for last about 1 year. So this kind of a, analysis of your own self is also required. And the other point is that, if you clean your stables, if you clean your affairs, and if there is nothing which you need to hide, what you need to hide, your personal finances, fine, okay, your investments, okay, your properties, okay, but then if you are taking undue benefits from the office, or you are having people from the office unauthorizedly working in your house or in your farmhouse and things like that, so then I am sure you will like to hide it. And then you are always afraid, okay, what if it is known, then what will happen? Then you're concerned, Acha, I told this fellow one thing, so I hope, I don't tell somebody else a contradictory thing. So these kind of conflicts will keep on draining your energy. So it is better that you do not have any skeleton in your cupboard. Be absolutely upfront, honest, and then work hard, and you can drive the people the way you want it. And last thing I want to say about this, may not be last one, I'll just see my points, but one is reward and punishment. You must reward the people who are doing good, praise them in public, and criticize the people in private. If you take somebody's shirt pant off in public, and he may feel very bad about it, but then if required, you must do it also, but do it selectively. And if there is a person who's asking for punishment by his continuous misbehavior or this thing, you must punish him. Because if you do not punish, that also is sending a wrong message that this person is not very he doesn't care, so anybody can do any wrong and get away with it. So that organizational climate will go and the efficiency will go down. So if there is somebody who's asking for a kick in his backside, you must give it. Now I will also request Shraddha to please keep on reminding me of the time. I may overshoot. Okay, now the another point is the contingency planning. As a leader, when you are planning or executing and getting the organization wherever it is supposed to go, so you have to have a vision. That vision has to be having various goals, short-term goals, long-term, medium-term goals, and long-term goals. Short-term goals may be 1 month, 1 week, 1 day, and medium term could be few months, and the long term could be 1 year or maybe more. So depending on the organization's time cycle, maybe it is that financial year cycle, or it is a 5-year cycle, or it is whatever, it is a tenure based cycle. So you have to have those goals, and then if you can go for those goals, you will have enough planning stepwise, you will be able to understand and then follow it up, and you will be successful. And then there has to be a contingency planning for everything. Contingency planning is meant to save the situation when things go wrong. So this is my next part, is the crisis management. But then ideally, if you do contingency planning, there should be no crisis. That is what we are planning for. But then always things can go wrong. Like in the army, when you go to a new place, you are told, okay, you have responsibility to do flood control. You have the responsibility to do flood control in these districts. And then you go and do the recce. You go talk to the DC, you go see the place, you find out which are stores are required, when did the last flood take place, and then what are the flood relief stores, where are they, this thing, what are we supposed to do, what are the organization of the columns, internal security duty columns, the flood relief columns, and things like that. So similarly, in your organization, wherever you are, in a software industry, maybe your servers may fail, so you have to have a backup. There may be a cyber attack, the thing may be, malware may be added. In a factory, there may be supply failures, there may be fire, there may be a theft, there may be a flood, dams can break and things like that. So it whatever level people are working on. Now you see, the contingency planning of Mr. Modi will be different. The contingency planning of Mr. Yogi will be different. The contingency planning of a superintendent of police will be different. The contingency planning of a hospital administrator will be different. So you have to have contingency planning, and God forbids if something happens. So first of all, you should not panic. Now I'm coming to the crisis management part. You should not panic, because when you are panicking, your mind, it becomes muddled. You are not able to think very clearly. So you have to have a very clear thinking. So now this clear thinking, again, you have to cultivate. You have to cultivate, because as I always was saying in my army career, you can't train cats or rats in the peacetime and expect them to turn into tigers when the war breaks by a turn of a switch. So similarly, you have to learn not to panic. You have to control your panic. Your dog may have some serious issues, so don't panic. Your child may have a stomach ache in the middle of the night, start crying and not able to tell you, you don't know what is happening. Don't panic. So this is how over a period of years you train yourself. Leaders are not made in a day. Leaders also keep on doing mistakes. But then the point is, you have to take every crisis as an opportunity to prove your leadership. Do not be affected in a negative manner. And there is no crisis which is end of life. Every crisis is a crisis which can be overcome. It will have certain damages, and then thereafter things will be okay. Now we had Corona, first wave, second wave, third wave. Thousands of people have died. Thousands of family had been badly affected. But then if it has happened, so it has happened. So my basic question is, I'm not saying nothing is unfortunate. Unfortunate things happen, but do not let it affect your mind. If you let it affect your mind, your thinking will become muddled. You will be, you will break down, and you will not be able to take action. And then because of your personal failure of getting a muddled thinking, not being able to this thing, or getting frozen in your tracks, your organization will suffer. Tens of hundreds of thousands of people, their families and other name of the organization, finances and things like that, they will suffer. So first of all, as I was saying, have contingency plannings, work out where all things can go wrong. If this go wrong, what all will be done. Like there's a classic example. My son is a pilot, so we keep on discussing. He is a pilot in Vistara. So for aircrafts, there are thick volumes of books, and they are available for every kind of a crisis. every kind of a failure, every kind of a, things can go wrong. What are the backup systems? How to rectify this? How to do this? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they have drills laid out for every crisis. And then every crisis which happens in the aircraft doesn't lead into a crash. It can be, retrieved. Situation can be retrieved. So don't panic. Have a contingency planning. Don't panic. Communicate properly. And, there are communication is of two types. One is that you have to communicate to the people concerned so that the rumor mongering stops. Because then, people, when they're suspecting something, hush hush is going on, some bloody problem, meetings are being called, this thing, that thing. So they say, okay, something is wrong. Then they start thinking 2 + 2, and then they start passing on the rumors. So that rumor mongering has to be stopped. So that you have to communicate to your team properly that this is what is happening, this is what we are doing. And similarly, there may be certain other aspects, the nitty-gritties, the technical things, or the confidential things which need not be known to everybody. So they have to be passed on on a need-to-know basis. You have a crisis management group or your core team, so they should be called, they should be this thing. There should not be any wastage of time. You see, when we are sitting in a boardroom or in a meeting, so we have a lot of discussion going up and down and all those things, and it is a lot of wastage of time. Sometimes people start, running an agenda, and sometimes they say, okay, now what I am saying is correct and it should be done. So as a leader, you have to now be very decisive. You have to decide on action and you have to launch action. So that cannot wait. They say analysis till paralysis. So analysis till paralysis cannot be done. So, and the last thing which I want to tell you is, for every normal human being, it is like our mind, our intuition works like the computer output. The output comes when you has put in a formula or somewhere. But the point is that the output will be okay if you have fed the thing properly. So in your hard disk, if you have something already put in very nicely, your knowledge, your studies, your other things and all, so only then your mind will give you a correct solution. So you have to be a quick thinker. You don't have to procrastinate. Don't analyze till paralysis. Take action. And every crisis is a stepping stone for success. It is for improvement. You must make a case study out of it. After the things are sorted out, try to study what went wrong, where, and how it was to be resolved, then put it back in your contingency planning and in your rule book and whatever. So I think this is all. I think I am out of time, and if there is any other thing which is required to be any question, any clarification, I'll be glad to do that. Shraddha, over to you.
I'd like to thank you, Adharaniya Major General Saab. A 2-star General of Indian Armed Forces is the global benchmark of leadership courage. That is Shaurya and Sangathan Mahasadhana. And it is our great honor that today Major General Balraj Mehtaji, who epitomizes the latest traditions of being a 2-star General of Indian Armed Forces, has enlightened us with real-life lessons. And we resolve to implement these lessons through our day-to-day lives, sir, to transform Bharat into the mega power of post-COVID AI-driven automated world. And sir, with all my earnestness, Confederation of Empowerment Initiative thanks you. We thank Major General Mehtaji for being part of CI Parivar and to guide us further. Thank you. Om Namah Shivaya.
Thank you. Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Namah Shivaya, Adharaniya Major General Saab Ji. This was a very enlightening session on leadership and crisis management. And in fact, the impact can be measured in the fact that there is a question, there are 2 questions for you, Adharaniya General Saab. We have in fact received the first question in various forms from over 20 of our interns through our CEI internship WhatsApp groups.
Okay.
And I'm just, I'll just read out the question verbatim.
Ji.
So, Om Namah Shivaya, Adharaniya General Saab Ji. First of all, we would like to salute you for your immense service to our nation and keeping us safe. And the question is also, sir, why is your regiment, the paratroopers, considered to be the elite of the elite? And it is said that only the top 0.1% of the Indian Armed Forces officers can get in. And The second question, actually, this is a question from my side, and I know I'm aware that we're already going to discuss this in the roundtable that will follow now. But the question was, sir, that given the missile tests that we've had as Bharat in the last 90 days, especially considering the advanced versions of BrahMos, Agni 5, the long-range ship destroyers, which now gives us the prowess to even block the Malacca Strait. So, sir, how do you see India rising in the ranks of countries with advanced weapon systems? So, sir, these were the two questions. I will also be happy to repeat any of the questions if required. These were the two questions that we had based on the brilliant session that and the very insightful session that we had from you just now.
Okay, thank you.
Ji.
So I will take on the first one, that is the para commandos or the special forces as they are called now. So the point is that the conduct of the warfare requires different kind of tools in different areas for different tasks. So now you have, in the deserts, you have large scale armored and mechanized formations, they work. And then, the long range artillery is there, close range artillery is there. There is an air force, which is supposed to give you, close air support and, battlefield supremacy. Similarly, there are infantry soldiers who are foot soldiers, and then they are used where, the machines cannot go, like in mountains and in jungles and in, marshy areas. So infantry is being used for that. So then more of that, there are also specialized tasks. Infantry attack is a mass attack. There are two companies, say, attacking on the front. There will be about 200 people attacking, then the 200 people back at this thing. There is another 200 set of people attacking. So that way it is a mass kind of an attack. So the drills are there, these, the kind of systems are there. Similarly, armored core attacks, there may be a brigade going maybe with the 120 tanks, or a regiment going with 45 tanks, and also that is a different kind of a warfare. What happens is, when there are special tasks which will need a very small team to work, maybe 6 people behind the enemy lines, and carrying out certain lasering or certain other tasks, or missiles or demolitions or sabotage, subversion, some kind of a thing. So then you need very high level of intelligence, very high level of motivation, very high level of technical prowess, and the kind of fearlessness wherein they know, okay, we are isolated, we are surrounded by everybody, we have no link up and everything, but then still we have to work. So these kind of people, they are specially chosen. Everybody cannot be that. And then they are trained, like I was commissioned in one para commando. There was a probation period. The probation period is 3 months long, and in that probation period they test you to your bone. They will know every bit of your personality. They will put you to bloody breaking point, and then if you pass, only then you will be taken in, and then that is the start point of your training. So you have to do deep sea diving, you have to do free fall, you have to do paratrooping, normal para jumps, you have to do jungle warfare, you have to do so many other things, special weapons, survival of the land, and things like that. So that's why it is they are elites, because they are as a specimen of a human being, they are elite. Firstly, secondly, they are elite because they are given tasks which nobody else or anybody else cannot do. So imagine you are launched and landed in somewhere inside the enemy, behind enemy lines. Like I'll give you an example of the Second World War. Second World War, there were people living behind enemy lines and fighting, living off the land and fighting maybe for years. And some of the people, they got lost. There are stories in Singapore and other such areas. The people got lost in the jungle. They continued, and for 10-15 years, they didn't know that the war has finished. So if you have to be in that kind of a psychological environment, that kind of a physical danger to yourself, that kind of an important national tasks which are being entrusted to you, so you have to be elite. So that is the answer to the first question. Now the second thing is about advanced weapon systems and how we are going to benefit from that. So that is actually, it is a requirement in the today's world, because it is a dog eat dog world. And what our Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru used to say, that we have no enemy, so our police can do the job and the army is not required. So then you see what happened in 1962. So we need a strong armed forces, we need long range weapon systems, we need to counter China, we need to have our own space wherein we don't have to beg to the superpowers, you know. So having our own weapon systems, our own Tejas aircraft, our own LCA, our own tanks, our own Vajra K9 guns and other things, they are all required. Our light helicopters, the Dhruva helicopters. So we have to have our own aircraft carriers. So that is the self-sufficiency which we should have. And as regards the Malacca Strait, yes, Malacca Strait is very, very important. But then, I just want to, if you see the map of India, Malacca Strait is going somewhere from the down south, and then it has always been a choke point. At the widest, I think it is about 900 meters wide, and every ship has to pass through that. There is a huge line, if you see in the ocean. I had a chance once when I was in Andaman Nicobars to go in an aircraft and go towards the 6-degree channels, and that channel is leading up to Malacca Strait. There was a line of ships lying as if in a traffic jam. So if you block that, yes, the thing will be affected. To counter that, China has started the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, specifically to counter this problem of Malacca Strait getting blocked. So the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor is having a pipeline. So the oil comes from Gulf, it comes to Gwadar port. From Gwadar port, it is pipe pumped up. So that kind of a thing is required. But then that, that kind of an expensive project China has been forced to undertake because of the vulnerability in Malacca Strait. So I foresee that in the years to come, our forces will be stronger. There will be nobody who will threaten us. As of now, we face a lot of threat from China. It is a wielded threat. Certain action takes place on ground, but then they are holding it like a threat in being. You see, China has sorted out their borders with, I think, 14 or 24 countries, but they have not resolved the border dispute with India, because that is a kind of a Damocles sword which keeps on hanging. So we have to resolve that, and the best part of resolving it is to be strong enough to make sure that the enemy knows that if they take a bloody issue with us, they will get it in double measure. So development of all these long range weapons are very, very important, and I'm sure things will continue. And if we do whatever I was told we are doing in the software engines, I think we will be a very respectable country and a nation, and that is our destiny. We must achieve it. Hopefully it happens in my lifetime. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. This was a brilliant insight. Om Namah Shivaya.
Sir, just one last question. I just received a question from one of the intern, and he has also posted on the chat box right now, Mr. Udit Sachdev. So his question is that in what way can people like me, not in the army, make a difference in the well-being of the country, especially in the defense sector? Over to you, sir.
See, there are two things which are required to be done in this. One is the support and welfare of the army people themselves. You see, when if suppose you are a civil servant, or you are in some department, you are working with government, or you are working in the administration, and if there is any problem with an army man comes in, or any service person comes, they are serving in the remote area, they're separated from the families, even their own kith and kin take advantage of that. They will encroach their land, they will not give them this thing, they'll create problem, they'll force them to bloody go out of the house, and things like that. So there are issues with a normal army person faces. When he's serving in the front, there are issues back home. So if people can help out in those issues, there are organizations. Of course, there is a ex-serviceman leagues, and there are the the soldier boards, and but then the poor Jawans, especially the Jawans lower levels, they do not get a good hearing. They do not get enough time to sort out their cases. They are having a lot of tensions and other problems. Sometimes the children are not getting admissions in schools. So wherever you are in a civil life, if you can help out a soldier, even especially if he's serving, and even after he's retired, if you can help out a soldier in his genuine requirement to help him out, to help him get his peace of mind, that will be one of the very good services that you can do. That is one. And the second thing is, you see, I read somewhere, there is a very good saying, I think it is in US Army and others also, I have seen in India also. See, as a citizen, everyone should be worthy of having an Indian army defending them.
Exactly.
If the people die in the front, now I am getting goosebumps. If the people die in the front, they're ready to die, they serve in bloody snow, 6 feet snow, they are serving the bloody minus 50 degrees at 21,000 feet in jungles and this thing, that thing. You at least be worthy of that sacrifice. Are you worthy of that sacrifice? So if you are a good citizen, you work hard, you are able to, work for the nation. Like I am very fond of this Article 51, 51A or 51 of the Constitution of India, which lays down the duties of a citizen. So wherever you are, if you can do your duty as a citizen, I think it is a very good support for the nation and a very good support for the people who are fighting for you. So, when you supply, the supply of the uniforms, supply of the, winter wear, supply of the ammunition, supply of this thing, the procurement of weapons. तो उसमें अगर honesty हो, अच्छी quality की चीजें हो, so that will be a good support. So I think we should be worthy citizens which deserve Indian armed forces who are defending them day in and day out. And that is, I think, the biggest service that we can do to our nation.
Absolutely. Om Namah Shivaya, Adarnya Major General Saabji. You'll be very happy and proud to know that each and every one of our Project Empowerment Warriors are fiercely nationalistic and absolutely committed towards the rise of Bharat. And
Yes.
That is what CEI truly stands for, which is why today's session of yours was a huge source of inspiration to all of us, wanting to dedicate every living moment of our lives to Bharat and to help Bharat transition into the global mega power of tomorrow. And it is the future of our country, our empowerment warriors, that will make it happen.